Hi, I'm a mermaid. No, I'm not. I'm a weird YouTube creator and I wear a lot of different hats. Right now, I'm a YouTube creator. All right. I hope you guys are doing great today. I was up so late last night partying and living the best. No, I wasn't. That's a lie. I was up watching the Sarah Boone trial and she's a mess. Okay. Hey, Tennessee, how are you doing? It is great to see you. Hey, Linda, welcome, my friend. How are you? Okay, so I was up late last night watching the Sarah Boone trial, the opening statements, and the first witnesses. The takeaway is PJ, she's a mess. That's the takeaway. And this whole ridiculous notion of self-defense that she is a battered spouse. And I was going to hold on just a minute. Let me look at something real quick. Hold on. In Florida. Okay, so but that is not Florida. Hold on, let me find specific to Florida statutes. Here they are, right here. So the rule, it's Florida is rule 3.201. Okay, so that is, it seems like Florida is missing one of the elements that I'm familiar with. We are going to talk about this battered spouse syndrome. Okay, yeah, there is a missing element here. That's curious. Use force, imminent threat, proportionate, and related to greatest degree reason. Yeah, Florida's battered spouse syndrome is a little bit different than what I'm familiar with. So for what I do, or evaluations that I might do, the four elements are that the person, the defendant, the abused, if you will, that the defendant believes that the violence is their fault, number one. Number two, the spouse, the defendant believes that they are incapable, or when you talk to the defendant, that they seem to have a block in their mind to accurately name the source of the violence, right? I mean, it's got to be the person that's hitting them, right? But they've been so manipulated, they've been so molded and shaped by violence and brainwashing tactics that they legitimately believe that if they behaved differently, if they were a better wife, or if they lost 10 pounds, or if they were not old, that then the batterer wouldn't have to hit them. That the person that is attacking them is doing it because the defendant is not a quality person, right? So that's number two. Number three, the defendant fears for her own life, or his own life, or for the lives of the children, or even the lives of a pet. I knew of a terrible, awful situation, horrible, where the person had like three of these little dogs, like the little miniature dogs, right? Had three of these little tiny little dogs, and the husband, to control her, he was very angry with her. And to control her, he actually killed one of the dogs while she was sitting there watching. And so then he picked up the next dog to harm that one. And she began frantically trying to do what he wanted her to do. And then he didn't stop hurting the second dog. And so she ended up actually grabbing the gun and shooting and killing him to save her little dog and the third dog who was just hiding. Right. So it's horrible, horrible nightmare. Don't let anybody tell you that we don't love our pets. It can rip our soul out to see one of our pets being hurt just as effectively as if we were seeing a child being hurt. Not all of us. Some of us, our pets are not quite that valuable, but for some of us, our pets are equal to, the level of responsibility for their safety is equal to that of our children. The fourth that I'm familiar with, spouse has an irrational belief that the defendant believes that the abuser is omniscient, all-knowing, that he or she, the battered, that they cannot hide, they can't sneak around. They won't even try to leave because there's this horrifying realization that even if they do get away, that the all-knowing, omniscient abuser will definitely be able to find them. So it's pretty horrible. It's pretty horrible. So if you are in an abusive situation, or you have a friend or a family member who's in an abusive situation, there are some basic things that you must do. Number one, you must find an avenue to start putting aside money for yourselves. And for some people, it is, selling some of your items under the radar without the abuser knowing. I've known of women that have given valuable items to friends to sell on eBay and such, and then open up an account in their name and start putting their friends' money and whatnot in to give them a safety account. So number one, you got to start saving up money. The next thing that you have to do is you have to give consideration for where can I go? And this can get very difficult for abused women or men. This can get very difficult because the rule is, the guidance is, you actually have to go somewhere that you've never been before. You want to go somewhere that you have zero connection to. And one of the things we know for sure is that people are creatures of habit. And when they get into a tough spot, when they get uncomfortable, they're always going to go back to what they know. That is carved in stone, right? So if there's like an escaped prisoner, if there's an escaped prisoner or a runaway kid or something like that, you sit down and talk with the parents and you say, okay, tell me, like, where have you vacationed? What were some of the best times that you guys had before they started using drugs? And so you go back way, way back into history and find all the places of significance. And then you tell the cops, okay, you need to go to, where, I can't think of a place. You need to go to Huntington, West Virginia, because that's where you're going to find your escaped prisoner. And they're like, what? We're in California. I know you're in California, but that's where he is. I promise. So you go back to their old places and you find. Now, abusers, I don't know if they educate themselves. I don't know if they read books. I don't know if they're all just got like a manual, how to be a controlling asshole. I don't know how they learn these things, but many of them do know. And so they will start thinking about, if the wife gets away or the husband gets away and they're able to get away without being caught, then that's abuser sometimes will follow them for 5-10 years trying to track them down. And one of the things that they will do is, okay, what are all the places that my wife ever talked about? Where did she grow up as a child? Where does her best friend live? And we'll go back to methodically and systematically go back to each of those locations. So when you're working with these people that are in a life and death situation, you have to convince them you've got to go somewhere that you know nothing about. You've got to go somewhere that in no way at all whatsoever could ever be connected to you at all. And before you leave, you've got to just leave your telephone. You've got to leave any radio, any kind of electronics, leave it in your house. Don't take it with you. For God's sake, whatever you do, do not take it with you. When you walk out of that door, you are walking out into literally the great unknown. You're going to a location that you know nothing about. No one knows you at all. And do not, whatever you do, don't take a digital camera. Don't take anything that is electronic. Nothing. But let's be true. If you're trying to get money together, take that expensive electronic and pass it over to your friend and ask her to sell it for you. Take your expensive clothes, sell them on eBay. All of this under the radar, build up a little nest egg. And when you walk with nothing in your hands, nothing. And that is a very, 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 very terrifying feeling. So it does take these people that have true battered spouse syndrome. Many of them never escape. They just can't do what they need to do to keep themselves safe. All right. Now, so those are the 4 conditions or elements that I've seen. But Florida is a bit different. So let me read Florida's. Florida is to justify homicide under any claim of self-defense, a defendant must establish 3 elements, not one of 3. All 3 of these elements must be met. The defendant believed she must use force against imminent threat of harm. Sorry, Sarah. Not going to meet that element. Number 2, the amount of force used was proportionate to the threatened harm. It was suffocation, long, slow, painful suffocation. I'm not going to tell you what happened to his body as his oxygen levels slowly kept going lower and lower and lower and lower. It's excruciating. The muscles don't like not having oxygen. The muscles contract. You know what a Charlie horse feels like? You know how painful that is? Imagine that in your neck. Imagine that happening in your back, your stomach, your abdomen, your thighs, your feet. Excruciatingly painful. Excruciatingly. Terrible headache. I'm not going to go into all of it because they will talk about that on the stand. They'll have a coroner there that will discuss that. So the amount of force used were proportionate to the threatened harm. I don't think so. I just don't think so. Number 3, the defendant retreated to the greatest degree reasonably possible. There's that word again. We talked about that word last night in my live. Reasonable. Ask you, my friends, is there like anything reasonable about Sarah Boone at all? It doesn't seem like it, does it? She's pretty out there. All right. So let me read some of your comments. Should have put my contacts on. She tortured him. She did indeed. Thank you. I absolutely agree with that choice of vocabulary. That was torture. She was tortured in what was like old Elizabethan England torture chamber. He was in bondage and then denied oxygen, just little tiny bits of oxygen, just enough to keep him awake, just enough to keep him conscious that he was aware, oh my God, I'm going to die. What she did You would much prefer ending it quickly than what this poor guy had to live through. Sincerely, physically, it couldn't have been more painful. I promise. I called the cops. He got arrested while he was in jail. I packed my car and drove 4 states away. It was in the 80s. I don't know how I got money. I did not worry about gas money. It was magic. And we are happy for it, TC. Thank you so much for being smart and trusting the universe. Very good. All right. I listened to Brian Boone's interviews, and he clearly states that she got aggressive. She was controlling his life. And what else was she doing, TC? Wasn't she battering Brian? And what did he say? Just like any regular, good, normal man, what did he say? She's tiny. I'm a big guy. She hit me. She scratched me, but it wasn't like I was under threat of harm. I just pushed her back. Don't hit me. But that's not the point, is it? It's not. The point is not how tough is Brian. That's not the point. The point is she's a batterer. She's a known abuser. I am not a technical person, okay? I am a country girl. I grew up out in the country. I don't know about these newfangled things. I'm doing the best I can. I apologize. If anybody wants to volunteer to be my AV expert, I need one. Okay. All right. I think we're good now. I don't know what happened, but if the lights go off, we're in trouble. That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. Okay. So what we do know from Brian, we know that Sarah is a batterer, right? Now he dismisses it, he minimizes it, but I'm not going to minimize it, and here's why. Sure, she's a 100-pound, 5'1", or no, 5'4", 100 pounds, ill, sick, alcoholic. But what if she was a 36-year-old NFL linebacker and had the same exact inclinations, compulsions to strike out and hit? Would that be dangerous? So battery is battery. I'm not gonna minimize and go, yeah, well, she is a batterer, but come on, look how weak she is. She can't really do much damage. No, but she can pick up a gun and pull a trigger, and that has been known to happen for batterers who simply lacked physical strength to cause the harm that they wanted to cause, right? So I don't want to minimize the fact that she hits when she doesn't get her way. And that's just a fact. The other thing that I was really struck by the contrast between Brian and George. What did you notice about the contrast between Brian and George? Brian's this big, tough, big, tall guy, big guy, right? No hurting Brian. He's good. She would have to have a weapon, right, to hurt him. But George, see, she found George in the bar, right? She's an alcoholic. She found George in the bar. So one of the benefits to George is that George would drink with her and would not try to control the amount that she was drinking. that she could drink with abandon, that she could live a life, that was just not where she's just checked out from humanity, and she wouldn't have to be accountable at all. Brian was holding her accountable. Brian was saying, you're killing yourself with this crap. You're hurting me. You're hurting our family. Our child is suffering because of your desire to be drunk. You've got to quit this. You've got to stop. And so while she would go on a binge and she'd be able to go out and drink and party with her friends and dance the night away, being the perpetual 13-year-old, while she was able to do that, there was hell to pay afterwards. She would have to sit in the chair and be chastised by her husband, who would be saying, you're acting like a child. Are you nuts? What's wrong with you? You have a kid now. You have a child. You can't keep acting like you did when you were in high school or when we first got married. But she kept doing that, didn't she? Because she's got that whole delayed development. Some big trauma happened to her when she was 13 or 14 years old. We don't know what it is yet, but something did in fact happen to her. I know it did. I'm convinced of it. So she ends up finding George, someone that will not chastise her, someone who will not hold her accountable for her actions, someone who was really actually very much like her himself, both very immature, both of them out of mainstream culture, both of them sort of forgotten people that the world was not holding accountable. And they were living this perpetual life of teenage, skipping school, getting drunk, playing games, putting together puzzles until it's time to go home. And they're just reliving that. That's what trauma does. It gets you stuck at a certain point in life and you can't move past it until you resolve the trauma. So the other thing about George, I think, for Sarah, and this was probably his best element in terms of Sarah asking herself, should I stay with Brian and try to do better? Or should I stay with George and embrace my most base desires? You see, George was 100 pounds. She could beat George and cause damage. She could threaten George. She could influence and frighten George. She was probably smarter than him. And so she gave into what was really at her basic personality, which was an abuser. Power and control. Never forget the grapefruit slice. All right. Power and control, right? So now she finds herself in not only an environment, a situation where she can drink to her heart's abandon and not feel guilty or feel bad, but she can also now take out all of the anger and frustration that's living within her, how life did her wrong, how she got the short end of the stick, whatever trauma that was that happened to her when she was 13, 14, 15 years old. Now George becomes the target of all of that disillusionment and anger. And he really was not in a position to protect himself. It's really sad. It's really, really terrible, terrible situation. All right. So, no, Sarah, all those 8 attorneys that just couldn't work with you or for you? I think it's because they were laughing at you, saying, you, ma'am, will never be victorious in a battered spouse defense. Never. Because this situation doesn't match the very first element that you were that you used the force required or reasonable force required because you were in imminent danger. You were not in imminent danger. You by your own words said it was a great day. You were having a great time. It was so fun. And you guys were laughing and giggling when he got into the suitcase and you zipped it up. Nothing indicating fear. And then, like a bonehead, you recorded 2 videos that make you, or I'm sorry, reveal the real Sarah, who is a sadistic monster. There's no imminent harm, and there's not a damn thing reasonable about that entire day. Now, Owens, who stepped up to the plate saying, hey, if ever there was a person on this planet that needed a defense, it's Sarah. She's certainly not going to be able to defend herself. He stepped up, I think, to try to do the right thing. And now he's asking us to believe, come on, Jimmy. Come on, James. I'm not sure you thought this all the way through, Mr. Owens. Mr. Owens, her attorney, is asking me and you and the jury to believe that an extra bottle of wine was the imminent threat. You know what we say in Louisiana? That dog don't hunt, Jimmy. That dog don't hunt. That is not going to work. That is no. And here's why it's not going to work, James. It's not going to work because the bottle that you presented as imminent threat, that bottle as you presented it was not consumed. They had not drank it. You said your opening statements, the way you presented it was he went and got this extra bottle of wine and Sarah went, oh, the beatings are about to begin. When he drinks that extra bottle of wine, I might die. He's going to get so mad and abusive and he could kill me. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Jimmy, that didn't happen. Why didn't she see that bottle of wine not consumed yet? Why didn't she see that bottle of wine and go, oh my God, my life is in imminent harm when he drinks that liter of wine? He is going to try to kill me. Okay, why didn't she call Brian? Why didn't she call Brian to come get her? Why didn't she call Brian and say, Brian, I need your help. He's about to drink another bottle of wine, and you know what happens when he does that. Can I sleep at your house tonight? She had made that call. She had made that request hundreds of times before, and Brian always let her. Why? No, your presentation in your opening statements was completely wrong. You say that bottle of wine was the indicator of imminent harm, and yet your own client says that they were yucking it up, laughing it up. She was helping to drink the 3 liters of wine, and she's having a great time. And she got in the suitcase, and then he got in the suitcase, and then she zipped it up. And then who in the hell flipped the switch to turn her into a sadistic monster? I know what it was. You know what happened? She said, oh, he's begging. I think I like that. I think I like that he's begging for his life. And I'm the only one that holds the key. I'm the only one that actually can unzip the suitcase. This is nice. I've got all the power and control. And guess who came out at that point? The sadistic monster that lives inside of her. So it's not going to work, James. You know that. You're preparing yourself already. And here's what I suspect. That's right. It was power and control, and she loves it. That makes her little heart pitter-patter with joy. When she is in control, when someone is begging her for something, she likes it, right? She's sadistic, okay? Here's what I think. I think Mr. Owens knows damn well this is not going to work. He knows this, and I think he probably told her, "Hey, Sarah, you really should take this plea deal. It's a really great bird nest on the ground, and we're probably not going to do any better." And she said, "I don't want to. I want to be a star. I want to be a star." And he said, "Okay, Sarah, we'll do it your way." I think at this point that Mr. Owens is just like, "Okay, whatever you want. Tell me what you want me to say, Sarah. Let's just get this over with." That's it. He's just doing whatever she says. She is going down. She is. This defense is going nowhere. You watch. But y'all know that. You don't need me to tell you that. You already know that. But now I'm going to transition to another Florida case. What am I about to transition to? Which case am I going to get all sassy and say, "I told you so"? Which case? Y'all know? Y'all do know because you're my friends. All right. No, not Soto. No, I'm staying away from Soto because of my own because of my professional work that I do. No, I'm going to go back to Charlie Adelson. Thank you. See, DB knows me so well. Yes, Charlie Adelson. I don't know. Look, I alienated a lot of people. I don't like to do that either. I like to have friends. I want people to like me, okay? But the thing that made people hate me, and I mean they hate me. They're not even pretending like they don't hate me, okay? But I wasn't like rude to them. I didn't call them stupid or dumb or ignorant. I didn't do any of those things. They called me that. They also said that I was Wendy Adelson. Oh, look. I let Wendy Adelson's in the room. No, Wendy Adelson was not in the room. It was just me. Just me. And I kept saying, "But what about A? Okay. But what about B? Well, what about C? Well, what's wrong with D? Can we talk about EFG? What about the problem of H, I, and J?" These people that have been, they're basically the peasants, okay? I don't mean peasants in terms of no money or anything like that. I'm talking about pitchforks and lanterns running down the beach. We've got to kill the beast. Yeah. This was the mob. This was the Charlie Adelson mob. Not just the Charlie Adelson mob, it's the Adelson mob. I even heard a conversation in one of these channels where the Adelson pets should be put to death. Why? Why are you going to hurt a poor little dog just because you don't like the owners, right? If you in any way suggest it's happening again. It's happening again. We're going to keep the light up here. Isn't it pretty? It's such a pretty microphone. Thank Yvette. Yvette did that. Okay. We're going to keep our eye on the light because the light keeps going off. It's weird. You think it's good? All right. I think it's good. And it's so weird because like I can shake don't know. Strange. I mean, it's a great microphone. Everything's working. Everything's great. Maybe I'm being hacked. Maybe I'm being hacked by people from fancy fiction. Those people hate me. All right. But I love them. All of you people that are against Charlie Adelson, I love you guys. I want to be friends. All right. Now then, they dislike me terribly. That's okay. And the reason that my crime, the thing about me that they hate so much, is that I have the audacity to stand up in front of the world and go, but where's the evidence? Oh, where's the motive? Why would Charlie Adelson do this? And where is the information that the proof that he in any way knew Sigfredo or Lewis or any of them? They completely took the freedom, the life of a man based on bald-faced, proven liars. There is zero evidence against Charlie Adelson. I am not talking about Wendy. There's evidence against Wendy. I'm not talking about Donna. There's evidence against Donna. There's no evidence against Charlie Adelson or Harvey Adelson, the patriarch. There's no evidence. I'm sorry, there's not. You guys can, but what about the book? What about the book that Wendy wrote? That is evidence to convict Wendy. Are you telling me that somehow Charlie Adelson is a Vulcan and he did the mind meld with his family members? That's just so absurd. Oh, Charlie is a pedophile. Charlie Adelson is a pedophile. He did sex tourism. How do you know? How do you know he did sex tourism? Because his friend told us. His friend was there. His friend was with him. But his friend isn't a pedophile? His friend, Charlie, was doing sex tourism, but his friend was not. How's that work? Dumb, stupid. There's 10 million reasons that people would travel to Thailand or Turkey or the Philippines. There's 10 million different reasons that people would do that. Well, I'm not even going to go into like the business, manufacturing facilities. I'm not even going into all that. It's stupid. It does not warrant a response. None. Even in the most horrible circumstances imaginable, let's say that old Charlie, playboy, unmarried, let's say he is making the rounds across the world, having sex with every nationality that he can find. How does that make him guilty of a conspiracy to murder his brother-in-law? No, I'm sorry, excuse me, ex-brother-in-law. Stupid. It doesn't. It may make him a very bad guy, but the very bad guy charge isn't on the books in Florida. You can't try someone for murder just because they're a very bad guy. That's how you trick a jury, but it's certainly not legal. What else do they say? They say, but what about the stapled money? What about the stapled money? Apparently, Charlie, because he's a bonehead, among other things, this wealthy man who didn't get money handed to him, he was working 60 hours a week. he had a irritating propensity toward taking $1,000, like a stack of money that equaled $1,000, and stapling it together as $1,000 packet, just like a bank does, but they put a piece of paper around it, right? Well, for Charlie, he didn't have the fancy little papers to wrap around it, so he just stapled it. And he said, aha, here's 20 bills, and they all total $1,000. Here's $5 bills, they all total $1,000. Here's $100 bills, they all total $1,000, right? That's just what he did. And then he kept it all in his safe. That wasn't all the money he had. Charlie Adelson has, with an S on the end. He's loaded. He's got far more money than his mom and dad. Far, 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 far more. We even have text messages where Donna is saying, can I take so much money out of your stack? Because she and Harvey, they had money, but by comparison, not Charlie's level of money. Charlie wasn't gifted that money. Charlie was working 60 hours a week, and he owned businesses, many businesses. So this weird thing that he had where he was taking any of his cash, he would keep it together in blocks of $1,000 and then store it in his safe, right? A lot of people with disposable income will keep cash in their house because they don't trust the government. They don't trust the United States. They believe that the breakdown of the breakdown of the culture, the society is imminent, that all of the banks are bankrupt, that there's not enough cash in circulation. And so if they shut all the businesses down, they close and shutter the banks, the ATMs are no longer working, then these people have set aside money, cash, silver, gold. They've set it aside for the possibility that they won't get caught, unable to access their cash that's in the bank. The other thing that those people do that Charlie does or did, they always keep their cars with their gasoline tanks completely full. That once they get down to a half a tank, they'll pull in and fill it back up. So they keep all their vehicles completely full to the top. Why? In the case that society breaks down, they have gasoline to get out of the city. Charlie kept his cars topped off. So there was this thing about, that he has this weird habit with the money, keeping it, stapling it. And basically Katie knew because he had given Katie money. He gave Katie a lot of things, a lot. And people in the Adelson, in the I Hate Anything Adelson club, those people say, oh, he was giving her money because he was trying to keep her happy so she wouldn't tell the truth about what they did. That's what he was doing. She would call and ask for money because she couldn't pay for her child's tuition who had autism, and he would just give her money because he was scared. Well, it's an interesting theory. And I found it very fascinating that when Surviving the Survivor started bringing on old friends of Charlie, even people that went to school with him, went to dental school with him, or went to college, they were in college getting their bachelor and master's together. Surviving the Survivor went and found some of these people that were willing to come on his channel. Some of them have YouTube channels of their own. And guess what we learned about Charlie Adelson? And this was the minute I knew that I was right. When I started watching those interviews, and I had all these questions about the lack of evidence, and nobody wanted to talk about it in a reasonable, rational fashion, I started listening to these interviews of people that knew Charlie back when, before he was a millionaire, right? You know what they said? You know what was often repeated? Charlie would give you the shirt off his back. Oh, really? Is that right? So all of you fine talking psychologists out there on YouTube, all you fine talking forensic psychologists out there, surely you took a clinical class somewhere along the way. Many of you probably have clinical degrees, actually. No one ever talked to you about the importance of historical data? Killers don't typically want to give you the shirt off their back. They just don't. But the people in the I Hate the Adelson Club, here's what they say. They say, oh, you're so ridiculous. Why would Charlie just help Katie pay the tuition for her autistic child? What would ever make him do something like that? People don't just give their hard-earned money away. Now that is consistent with someone who might commit murder. You see, you're showing that you're really, really focused on your own needs. You're showing that you have a complete and total lack of empathy for those that you have judged as being less valuable than yourself. Charlie, on the other hand, he seemed to have recognition and realization that it's a really sad thing for a kid to be dealing with autism. And that these specialized schools can really, really, really help some of these kids get a hand up in life and actually be able to live a fairly normal life. And that Katie, although, she worked and such, she didn't have any help. There was no family money. Her husband was not really a very good worker. And Charlie said, I could help. That $30,000 tuition for a year for that kid to go to a special school for kids with autism, $30,000, I got that in my safe. I will never notice that money's gone. That will not change Charlie Adelson's life, not for one moment in time, not one. And so he says, sure, I'll help you. And he goes to a safe and he gets out $30,000 stapled. So he gets out 30 packets and says, go pay your kids' tuition. Now, fast forward to Donna and Wendy. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. They're meddling. They're meddling and scheming. I don't think Dan Markell knows who he's messing with. He's never come upon the Adelsons before, says Donna, who is ridiculous. And she and Wendy are like, well, how are we going to get back down here? Because there's this really wealthy guy that wants to marry me, but I got to move down here and I can't leave my kids, but I sure do want to get a hold of all his money. How do we do that? Well, we could bribe Dan with $1 million. Of course, we'll have to get it from who? Charlie. How will we do it? What will we do? How will we accomplish our plan? Katie is one of those. She's from the wrong side of the track. She goes to those Cuban nightclubs in Miami and does the shimmy all night long, right? So then they say, hey, Katie, how you doing, babe? Yeah. So we are just going to be hanging out on the beach today, me and some of my friends, having some cocktails. We thought if you weren't busy, you might like to come join us with you being Charlie's ex-girlfriend and all. Would you like to do that? And Katie's like, oh, the rich and famous want to rub elbows with me? Hell yeah, I want to go do that. I may make some contacts. And so now you've got, they're out there in the beach, living it up, clinking their glasses together, drinking in front of the $1 million apartments. And is that where the plan was formed? Because Charlie wasn't there that day. Charlie was working. Charlie was always working. So it's as if the I Hate the Adelsons club, it's as if they have lost the ability for discernment. They can't look at an alternate universe. You see, the case for Charlie Adelson and the others, that case has been tried in the court of public opinion for 10 years. There was even a Black Lives Matter group that got together and says, it is racist that you are not arresting Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson and Wendy Adelson and Harvey Adelson. This is racist. The only people that you have arrested and tried for the death of Dan Markel were people of color, and that's wrong. You got to arrest the white people. You got to arrest the Jewish people. I don't mean it was just boneheads like me that were getting on YouTube, shittering and shattering. No. It was Tallahassee attorneys setting up any number of channels, and night after night after night after night after night after night after night for 10 years, they went on their channels and said, Charlie did it. Charlie did it. Charlie killed Dan Markel. Charlie did it. Charlie did it. Charlie did it. 10 years. Attorneys, respected attorneys in Tallahassee, convinced everyone in Tallahassee that the Adelsons did it. And so Dan Roshbaum says, hey, maybe we could use a change of venue. Maybe that would be appropriate. And what does the judge say? Nope. Not. Let me take this under advisement. Let me give this some thought. Let's gather some data and find out how many locals, people that would be in the jury pool, how many have even heard this case. Well, of course they heard the case, Judge. My God in heaven. Of course they heard the case. Georgia Kappelman was doing interviews on local morning television. And do you know what she said 3 weeks before we got the little transcript from the detective with super duper, super hearing, masters of the universe eardrums, who can hear things that, mere mortals like me and like you can't hear, but he can. 3 weeks before that, Georgia Kappelman is being interviewed on a Tallahassee news station. It went out on all the morning news and the nightly news, the little interview. Do you know what she said? She said, and I quote, because I've listened to the damn thing so many times, I couldn't believe my ears. She said, you think I don't want to arrest Charlie Adelson? You think I don't want to go right now today and arrest Charlie Adelson and put him in jail for the murder of Dan Markel? I can't. Listen to this part because it's real. I can't because I have no evidence. Gosh, Georgia, how did that happen? That seems magical and all. That you go from, I want to, first of all, Georgia, you want to arrest Charlie? Why? You, by your own words, you said you have no evidence. Why would you want to arrest him? Do you want to arrest your ex-husband? Do you want to arrest your ex-husband and frame him up for the murder of someone? No? Then why Charlie? Political clout? Is that right? Oh, okay. Because he's a Republican? Maybe. So she says, I want to arrest him. And then she says those fateful words that Michael Hufferman, the appellate attorney, currently has in his computer. I want to arrest him, but I can't because I have no evidence. So all of you in the I sure do hate the Adelson fan club, all of you that call me stupid, all of you that said I was Wendy Adelson, I wish I was. I wish I had all her millions. All of you people that were so irrational and unreasonable, what do you say about that realistically? You think I don't want to arrest Charlie Adelson? But I can't. I have no evidence. That was from your queen. That was from your queen, Georgia, on Tallahassee News. And the judge said, no, not even taking under advisement the notion of a change of venue. Judge, you have no idea how many eyes are now on you. You have no idea how many mistakes you made during this prosecution of Charlie Adelson. This is to go to the appellate court and to say, we would like for you to route this back to the trial court because Charlie Adelson's constitutionally protected rights were violated, and no one stepped up to say it. No one stepped up to stop the process to protect Charlie or to protect the United States Constitution, which is it really? It's not Charlie, not in this situation. This is about the U.S. Constitution. And the judge did not stop and say, Rashbaum, what the hell you think you're doing, dude? You can't do this. You're completely violating the Constitution. No, we're not doing this. Neither did your queen, Georgia. Everybody just sat back and said, I ain't saying nothing if you won't say anything. We just will pretend like this isn't even happening. And nobody's going to care about a convict. Nobody, once he's convicted, once he's in jail, no one's going to give a damn about Charlie Adelson. Except Charlie has more money than you thought. He had the ability to hire the man who is the king of appellate law. There's so much wrong with Charlie Adelson's case. And the request to reroute this back to the trial court to allow this judge to finally right his wrongs. We'll see if he's going to do it or not. But even if the judge says no, then watch the appellate attorney go to work. Because when he's done, there may be attorneys that lose their licenses. Just like Linda Stanley was stripped of hers because of the Barrymore feud crap. This is bad, y'all. What happened, it is. And what they're trying to do now, it has nothing to do with Charlie Adelson, whether he's a good guy or a great guy or innocent or guilty. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, do you want to live in a nation that is that adheres to the rule of law? Do you want to live in a nation under the protections that have been in place for hundreds of years to keep us from going back to slavery like we had in Mother England? Is that what you want? Or are you so filled with hate for anything Adelson that you're saying, well, I want constitutional law. I want the officials to follow the letter of the law, but not where Charlie Adelson's concerned. I don't care what we have to do. I want Charlie Adelson to be in jail the rest of his life because I hate him. You want to know what one of these lovely, delightful creatures said just 3 or 4 days ago in chat? I think it was in Carl Steinbeck's channel. You know what she said? My jaw hit the ground. I was horrified. You know what she said? He's explaining just how important this is. He's explaining what all's taken place, why Charlie's been moved back to the Florida Department of Corrections, trying to explain how big this is, how big of a problem this all is. Do you know that one of these, so important. I've got such a great big heart for the Markles. Poor Dan. This woman said, and I've seen her, I know who she is. She actually said, maybe now that he's back in the Department of Corrections, the Latin Kings will kill him before he gets a new trial. You need to do some soul searching, babe. You are talking out of both sides of your mouth. And the truth is, I don't think you give a damn about the Markells. I don't think you give a damn about Dan Markell or the boys. I don't think you give a shit about anything. I think you are filled with hate. I think you are angry with your life. I think you are bitter that life didn't give you all that you had hoped that you would get. And now you've got someone to direct it toward. And that is Charlie. I hope he dies before he gets a new trial. What if he is innocent? You just want an innocent person to be killed because you don't like it? None of those people in those channels, none of them are considering the rule of law for me and you. None of them are stopping to go, wow, this is really bad. And I certainly do want to be able to be protected if I am one day charged or accused of something that I didn't do. I do want to be able to protect myself and have a defense. Tallahassee threw out any kind of rule of law in the prosecution of Charlie Adelson. To this level, Dan Roshbaum, Charlie's defense attorney, made a secret deal with Georgia Cappleman. And that secret deal protected Charlie? No, protected Donna. That's where Dan Roshbaum's real loyalties lie, is with Donna. It's very strange. So how would you feel if you had been wrongfully accused of murder? Somebody said, oh, you murdered your neighbor. You get arrested. You're going, oh my God, what the hell happened? This is crazy. But the truth will come out. Everybody will see there's no evidence that puts me there, and I'll go free and I'll rebuild. I'll have to rebuild my practice, my life, and get things back in order, right? You try to stay positive, try to trust the process. And then people start talking about a book that your mom wrote or emails that your sister and brother exchanged. And everybody says, yes, you did it. We got your mom's email. We read your sister's book. We saw the text messages between your family members. And you're going, I didn't do it. I wasn't in the text messages. I didn't write the stupid book. Hell, I've never even read her damn book. Nobody could do that. What they did to Charlie was an abomination. And there is so much wrong with it that Ufferman is being incredibly methodical, and he's just going to go back to the trial court and say, you are so wrong. You, judge, you are a mess, and your prosecutor looks corrupt as shit. So I'm going to give you a chance. You want to undo this? Give the guy another trial, and let's do it properly, by the book, by the Constitution. Can we do that? But if you, judge, if you want a fight, we're coming. You will be sorry. And the prosecution's office will be very sorry. One thing that hasn't even been discussed publicly, I've said it, but one thing that hasn't come out that's not really been discussed publicly among the Tallahassee attorneys who are so brilliant, Katie's proffers. The prosecution fed her and Lewis information, facts that they did not know until the prosecutor's office gave them the facts. And then they used those facts to say Charlie did it. The problem is that they didn't match the reality of what happened. It was a concocted story. It was a narrative that was developed. Katie is heard on two proffers over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for more than an hour on each of the proffers, saying Charlie never said we're going to do the hit. Charlie never said kill him. Charlie never said we have to hurt him. Charlie never said it. And the prosecution, but what about did he like? Did he ever talk about not liking him? Well, yeah, I don't think he liked him because he was being mean to his sister, but he never said that we had to kill Dan. Oh my God. It's going to be so ugly. It's going to turn the true crime world upside down if this judge and Georgia Cappleman decide that they want to go to war with Ufferman. All that's going to come out is going to be, it's going to be lots of videos on YouTube. Lots of people are going to be in it. So I think that as a member of the true crime talking head, YouTube creator people, I do think that we look at these different cases and we think, oh, I think he's innocent, or I think he's guilty, or blah, 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 blah. We like to talk about all the evidence and what happened and read the court transcripts and things like that. We really love that. But at some point, do any of us stop to go, okay, what if he's really innocent? And Florida, believe it or not, Florida has the highest rate of convicted life or death row convictions being overturned. Florida. It's too many. It's too many potentially innocent people that are losing their lives to years and years and years fighting for their constitutional protections, right? If people are guilty, then they absolutely should pay the price. 100% they should pay the price. But when our elected officials, when our judges and our prosecutors, our defense attorneys, when those people begin to ignore or manipulate the rule of law, when they stop being guided by statutes and they're being guided by their ego, that is when your protections end. That is when we begin to live in a nation of despots. That's when the little man gets crushed for the benefit of the big guy. We should not support that. No matter how much we hate someone, we should not support it. You don't have to like Charlie. You don't even have to agree with Charlie. But what you do have to do is you do have to stand firm with the United States Constitution and the Florida statutes. You do have to remain committed to a rule of law in our nation, not vigilante bullshit. Can't do that. Charlie cannot be a surrogate for Wendy and Donna's bad behavior just because they have kids that they need a mommy at home with them. Charlie can't be that surrogate. If he did not have anything to do with the death of Dan Markel, if he was working and had no idea the machinations that were happening behind him, he cannot stand and bear the punishment that rightfully should go to the mother and the grandmother. And that is the truth. And don't be surprised if Katie Magbanoa has a different story. All right. Y'all have such a great Saturday. It is a beautiful day here on the Texas Gulf Coast. It is nice and cool. Sun is shining. The waves, there's like diamonds flickering on the back of the waves. So I am going to end this live. And he made a joke. And I think it's a funny joke. I know, come for me. Crucify me. I'm prepared. I looked into a hitman and the TV was cheaper. Now he bought like a $10,000 or $12,000 television, right? I looked into hiring a hitman, but this television was cheaper. Come on. If you've ever been through a divorce, you're going to think that's funny. Am I right or wrong? It is a funny joke. It is a funny joke. People that go through divorces, they behave badly. They treat each other horribly. And if you get to the end of it, and you've survived, and somebody says, well, I looked into buying a hitman, but I decided to send you on a cruise, it is deeply appreciated, right? Because you're like, yeah, I did want to kill that SOB. But now I'm out of it. I'm going to go on my cruise. And I'm going to rebuild and start me a new life. Terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Terrible what they did to Charlie Adelson. I am all in that this guy is innocent. And if I am proven wrong, I will absolutely own it. I will. Let's see. Bling says, I hope you're doing well today, Bling. Have you considered why Miss Wendy Jail Adelson dropped her brother in the grease from the get-go? She did too, didn't she? I mean, that chair she was sitting on in that sheriff's office, it wasn't even warm yet from her butt. Go back and watch that. Now that we know all that we know. Was that a script? Was, Wendy, look, you're such a great actress, Wendy. You do your mama proud. Was she playing a role? Was that a script? Was she in a Hollywood blockbuster? I mean, my brother, he's such a dear man. He's so sweet and kind and gentle. He would never hurt Dan. But he did say a joke. He said that he would hire me a hitman, but the TV was cheaper. It's terrible. Terrible. All right. That joke insulted Wendy for some reason. She didn't like him laughing at her. I thought it was a great joke. But I'm from Texas, so there you go. Right. I'm actually not from Texas. I'm from Louisiana. But I live in Texas now. I made a joke and he is in prison. That's all the proof they have against him. Well, they got Wendy's book. That's evidence against Charlie. And his little friend, this was weird to me. Nobody said anything about that. I don't even think I made a video about it. His friend said that it was weird because Charlie would take his money and steeple it. And then he said, I just removed the staple, or he said, I removed the staples and then spent the money. But what he said was each individual bill was stapled. Does that sound like he was telling the truth? He didn't understand, did he? So there's lots. Y'all wait. It's going to be fireworks. It's going to be fireworks. And when Charlie Adelson is acquitted, I am going to have him on as a guest on my channel. And we're going to look at the I Hate All the Adelsons fan club, and we are going to laugh because you were both unreasonable and illogical in your evaluation of what was presented by George Kappelman as evidence. And it was just evidence for the wrong guy. And I personally hope that Katie Magbanoa is able to tell the truth and perhaps see some kind of reduction in her sentence strictly because she decided to be truthful about what really happened. If Katie Magbanoa would tell the truth about the beach day and the drinks and all that, if she would tell the truth about the dinner with, what's his name? Jeff, Wendy's boyfriend. Can't think of his name. Jeff. I can't remember his name. If she would come forward and tell the truth about that, both Wendy and Donna would go to prison for the rest of their lives. And you're not going to get that unless Katie tells the truth. You will not see them unless she's willing to tell the truth. So it is Wendy jail. Adelson. Man, I won't be going to jail. Isn't that what she said? I'm not going to be charged with murder. Just you wait, Henry Higgins. Just you wait, Wendy. It's coming like a wrecking ball. I'm not going to sing wrecking ball. Okay. Katie has had time to think and realize the truth will set her free. We hope, but you wait and see. Having Charlie on your show will be a kick your heels in the air celebration. At the very least, it'll be a cautionary tale, right? At the very, very least, it'll be a cautionary tale of don't get so excited and bond over wishing the death of another person. Don't do that. It doesn't look good on you, and it may rob you of your logical thought. All right. Okay. I am going outside in this beautiful Gulf Coast day, Saturday, and I might go shopping. I might go buy me a new blouse. That's what my mama used to say. I'll be going into town to buy me a new blouse. Would you like to ride with me? Sure, Mama. Let's go. All right. Y'all have a great day. I wanted to play something. Man, my poor old brain. Y'all hang on. I got to get it loaded up. This is Reed Timmer. This is so funny. Okay. Mr. Timmer, although he lives in Colorado, Mr. Timmer is a great hurricane hunter. Like he's the real life Twisters guy, right? That's what he does. His claim to fame. He has a PhD in meteorology or some weather, hard science weather thing. He's got a PhD, smart guy, well-educated and whatnot, got a whole team of people that work with him. He does do hurricanes, puts himself in dangerous situations with hurricanes, but he really loves the chase of the tornadoes, right? And he's got these, cars, these trucks called Dominators, and they'll latch onto the ground, and they've got bulletproof glass, and they'll withstand, 500-mile-an-hour winds. I don't know if that's what it is, but a lot. Okay. So it seems that Mr. Timmer, after years and years of bringing to us the exciting, wonderful world of dangerous weather and allowing us a firsthand view without risking our own neck, it seems that Mr. Timmer is having a hard time getting rental cars. Because you see, he lives in Colorado. There's not a lot of tornadoes in Colorado, and there's absolutely no hurricanes. So while he lives there in heaven, God's country, his job is in all of these other states, right? Florida, Nebraska, Illinois, Louisiana, Texas. All right. So what he does when there's going to be a major weather event is he says, oh, look, we got supercells. I got to jump on a plane and fly there so I can be there to try to study what I'm studying. All right. And unfortunately, Mr. Timmer, well, I'll let him tell you what's happening.
My complicated relationship with the rental car companies. American Express Travel Division.
Okay, wait a minute. Sorry. Here we go. He stopped the live. Okay.
So then I'm headed to talk to American Express Travel Division on my complicated relationship with the rental car companies. So, and I love rental car companies. They made it possible for me to fly in and chase and do science and increase awareness for people in the path of these storms. But I'm now on the do not rent list just because things got a little out of control. One of my vehicles that I returned went viral, and I damaged it like 3 separate times during one rental. So got in some extreme conditions, some big hail, softball hail, like 150-mile-an-hour winds, tornado, like a juniper tree was flying through the air, blew the windshield out, and obviously
workplace dangers, right? It comes with the job, Reed.
Not purposeful, but just happens sometimes.
It does.
So I'm thinking about college. I was thinking about watching college football, but then I realized
when your office is in the middle of a tornado, you're going to have flying juniper trees. It's going to happen, right? And I personally think that the rental car place is being completely unreasonable. I myself, Reed, I would have never put you on the do not rent list just because your videos are so exciting and fun to watch, right? So I hope that, I hope you guys will go to Reed's channel. He's a funny guy. He is an exciting guy in terms of these major weather events. Really great to watch during hurricanes and such. So please go to his channel, subscribe. It's just called Reed Timmer, Timmer. And then I am going to go sit out on the dock of the bay and just let my feet dangle in the water and watch the birds fly in.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare. This side of you leaves me weak. There are no words left to speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real. You're just too good to be true. can't take my eyes off you. Trust in me when I say, oh pretty baby, don't bring me down, I pray. Oh pretty baby, now that I found you, stay and let me love you, baby. Let me love you. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I want to hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. Trust in me when I say, oh pretty baby, don't bring me down, I pray. Oh pretty baby, now that I found you, say, oh let me love you. Trust in me when I